Hello and welcome to the Sweaty the Farmer and the game design that was weird, where we find space asparagus in awkward positions through the galaxy. Man, what are they doing? This is episode number 69, Becoming What You Love. I am the learning game as the Sweaty.
And I am Lucho the Farmer. Thanks for joining us in this episode. This week we smell the machinations in a galaxy not so far away.
Oh my god, what does this smell like? Asparagus?
Asparagus free.
Alright, but before we begin, as usual, a little disclaimer. This discussion here is based on our own opinions and our own in-game experience. Everything we say, comment, and fight on here cannot be the truth, can be the truth, or can sometimes be between the truth and the not truth. Because it's determined by our human spongy eyes and our delicate sensibilities. So, with that in mind, we have in the docket how Blizzard transformed fans into employees, an interesting Rhykkers Diablo 4 interview with the developers of the project, and finally, something that Lucho put there that, yeah, I don't know what is the point, but a meme that every MMO RPG should strive for, which was very interesting to go through it. Anyways, so without further ado, my friend, let's talk about a very old Blizzard tradition or like thing that they do. How they usually take their most passionate fans and turn them into employees for themselves and greatly benefit because of it, right?
They do.
And as they say in the article, in this Wired article, they is now a more common practice. You heard a lot more now that, oh yeah, I was like a community manager, and then they actually hire me, and then I run to do this position and blah blah blah, or like, oh, I was this artist in the Reddit community, and I was like doing this artist work for commissions, and then suddenly the company contact me, and now I'm actually doing proper work. We have a very good example in the Warframe community with all the Tenno, what was the name? Tenno what? The program. Man, I forgot the name of the program. What? Tennogen. With all the Tennogen program, where they actually took the weird approach of hiring all the big artists in the community and make them make money through the game.
That's a stretch. They don't hire them.
Yeah, they don't hire. They don't hire them. That was my point.
But to be fair,
they sometimes hire them.
at least a couple of the artists on the East.
Yeah.
Payroll now came from Tenno.
From Tennogen, so there you go. Now it's a more
at least one or two that are like widely beloved by the community.
Yeah. But Blizzard has been doing it. Yeah, continue. Sorry for that.
Where started as just Tennogen fans.
Yeah.
They slowly transitioned through being like full-time hires for the.
Yeah. So and Blizzard has been doing this since vanilla World of Warcraft almost. since back in the day of the Burning Crusade, where is the story of a very, very enthusiastic raider called Ion Hezekostas, and now you know him as a lead developer of World of Warcraft.
Not a lead developer.
Yeah, the lead developer. World of Warcraft. So yeah, and in that same regard, that was one of the biggest strategies how Blizzard was so successful with his community, because they embrace their community wholeheartedly through this kind of hirings, to listen to them and the contact that they have with the communities in their different franchise. Yeah, they've been doing this a lot. So yeah.
They have. What do you think of that?
It is interesting. Like of course. How do you say? There is a line that when I started doing my game is for me it's a difficult topic because there is a line when I started studying games design that my teachers always tell me, and it was like, game design is not playing games all the time. You have to do this work and you blah blah blah. So kind of they try kind of disenchant you that you were coming to this course like a professional course and just like you're just gonna play games all day and then you're gonna make them. And and then you find out that it's part true and part not true. It's weird because they show you that making games is an insanely hard and time-consuming job, but that gives you a more appreciation for the games that you play. So you want to play even more games to actually deconstruct them, but you don't have enough time. And yeah, so in that regard, of course you have to take. Of course, if you have a pool of like very passionate communities, there's gonna be talented people in there, right? And sure. it's a difficult balance of identify what can you get from those very passionate communities, persons, right? It's
I mean, to be fair, Blizzard doesn't take like people from the community and trust them into leading positions.
Clearly not. But they take talent from there. They've been taking talent from the community for a long time.
Yeah, but they take. But at least if we are to take like Ian's experience and some of the people in the article, it's basically they get hired and they spend a couple of years like in just
actually
doing,
of course, actually learning
doing not in the leading positions. Like it's not like they took Ian as a custom and they took him
and they say you now
from leading a guild to lead designer. No, like he's spending many years in the
but it's
in the development team, like learning what
actually development is. But it's a
very lawyer by trade.
It's a very common misconception when we talk about this kind of topic of developers taking communities and actually working with them, that it's just like you just pass from like being an artist in the community to leading something or something like that, right? It's a very common misconception. Like I saw it when I started studying games design, that a lot of people got into the course thinking that they were just gonna play video games all day, and that was about it. It's funny because at the end of the day, what they told them to those people were like, you just go and work in Q&A, and that's another type of torture. So I thought just my teachers were like evil people. But anyways, so it's a very common misconception that you just transition from one to another, but it's very smart to take those parts, because you're hiring, as a company, you're hiring knowing that the loyalty of that worker to your brand is very strong as a baseline, as compared to just like hiring any person for the skills and then having them a little bit, but they didn't actually like the project that they're working on, and they just move on. So for the companies, it's beneficial because they almost guarantee that you have a long-time worker as a baseline for starters. So that's a very interesting thing about doing that.
They already come emotionally invested in the game or in the franchise or in the products that they produce, which is it's a huge money saver, if nothing else, for the company. But then I was thinking, like you see all these content creators, like Reddit warriors, talking shit about the work that Blizzard does and Ian, and so the guy has no idea what he's doing, and it's like, but he was one of you. He's no different from you, guy. You think from
you guy?
No, like from the people on the internet who believe that they have the right answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Like, the question like that you're making is like, what happens if we take like those content creators and do they deserve a tryout into movie?
The answer in my head is if they have the talent and they can make it all the way through the corporate ladder, as Ian did, because he clearly did.
Yes.
I'm not so sure that they will land on a so different place than he is right now.
Yeah.
Because it's not like
it's hard work, man.
Not only it's hard work, but like the experiences that have led him to arrive to a place where the game is not only him as a person, but like him as a lead designer of the game, for example, where the game is at right now. It's not like his ideas alone in a vacuum. It's like a lot of stuff. Like I don't think. I just think that if we take any person and throw them into that firing arena, they will find themselves in a very similar position to Ian, and just people throwing shit at them because they don't like
what they're doing. Yeah, I know.
In the game right now.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's hard. Like, but I still hear, like, more and more they realize what Blizzard was doing. Like the benefits of taking an ear to your community, as Blizzard have demonstrated through all these years of success, is valuable, right?
It is very valuable. I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying there is actually a lot of value in that. I'm just saying that people are kind of naive to think that it just I guess it just angers me when people just jump into the developer's throat to say, you don't know what you're doing because you don't play the game. And like, I don't know that. like he was one of us at some point.
Yeah.
For a good reason, the game is where it is now. I'm not saying that I blindly trust what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that before angrily yelling at the internet, people should stop and think.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I see like content creators as Believer Gaming that they deeply like criticize being actually game developers, which is very interesting to actually take that step to try to understand more deeply the industry and how it works, so they can criticize it better. But the majority of right now content developers, critics are not like that. Like the smaller.
No, because that doesn't sell.
Yeah, exactly. So
again, the content creator job is not to. For as much as you say that you like a game, if your livelihood depends on how many views you're getting, your job is not making the game better. Your job is producing content,
more views,
getting people to click on your content. That's your job.
Correct. Yeah.
It's almost like press. It just sometimes the job of the press is not to be. They should be factually accurate.
Yeah.
But you can put like sexy type because you still want people to consume your content.
Yeah.
and is that? I feel like there is a lot of like a big lack of like consequences for the content creators being disingenuous.
Yeah.
Which it was a thing that traditional media struggled with for years.
Yeah, correct.
In drawing that line of you need to be held accountable for the stuff that you say.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just funny, and like you see the article of all the people that have transitioned into developer positions, and it's all over the place for Blizzard, like Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Heroes at some point.
Yeah, Heroes of the Storm. I've heard stories about that. Yeah, StarCraft. I heard stories about StarCraft.
StarCraft as well.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know people that been graduated from game design school like me, and that they just started like doing content for a game, and then they just get officially hired just because they've been doing this content for a game. I had a friend who was doing content for Heroes of the Storm for a long time, and they got their first official developer job because of they were doing that content for the game. No other reason. No other reason because they were playing it.
That's fine. There are many ways to. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to get the job. That's kind of the part of the business.
Yeah, correct.
You have to put yourself out there to be noticed however you can. And if you're doing it through making content, fair enough. It sounds like a horrible bit of lions to navigate through,
but there you go.
You can do it.
But yeah, so it's very interesting. It's very interesting that Blizzard caught up with it. I wonder why. Like, I was reading these articles and I wonder why, in what point, like, Blizzard company thought like, oh, we have like this very passionate community. Let's just start pulling talent from it. It's very interesting.
I don't think they made the, like. I think they've been doing it since forever. They're like, it's just. I mean, if you think about the people who founded Blizzard,
yeah,
they were just some random dudes that know how to program.
Correct.
That's all they were. And just,
yeah.
And Blizzard, for as much as you can dislike it, as a company, they have always been very close to their communities.
Yeah, correct. That is true.
That's. They used to go dark more often than not.
Yeah.
Which is something that is changing now.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, like even in those days, they were always very receptive of the community. Not only feedback, but like the whole fostering the community. It's something that they have always done.
Yeah, and that gives them like an advantage of that give them definitely an advantage in that side of things. Like, it's the same as in Warframe. Like very big part of their central people that are helping them now as a company come from the community and the interest in the game, and
yeah, for sure.
That's her stuff.
And that helps perpetrate that same behavior. I'm pretty sure.
It's just getting close to your community, man. They have a voice. And I think more and more communities are more game developers are recognizing that they cannot be tone deaf because they will fail if they're extremely tone deaf. And it's important that they listen to the community, but not that the community will tell them exactly what to do, or like. No, it has to be a balance. It has to be a conversation between you making the game and the persons who are actually enjoying and playing the game, more than one determining what happens to the other. It is a difficult balance, man. Like, till today, it is a difficult balance. We say things here, we have discussed about changes that comes from the community to our games, that are good or bad, or like changes that come directly from the developers with other sensibilities that are good or bad, and
it will always be a difficult discussion to have.
Yeah.
Especially the more passionate communities where people scream the loudest.
Yeah, and it is weird because games work this very difficult line between being a work of art and being like a community-driven passion project and being a social experience and all that sort of stuff. And there is a space for everything. And like I was thinking about this last time. It's like how much a community should have impact when I'm making a game. But if I have artistic vision, how much that community should affect that artistic vision. And I think that it depends, like it purely depends on the project that you want to achieve. Like the majority of these stories comes from a game that is driven by the content that it has to create to keep that community alive. And I'm talking like MMOs, I'm talking about like a lot of interaction and co-op experiences and PvP heavy experiences like some League of Legends, because Riot, they were a big community hiring they take the majority of the developers out of the Riot community. They do it too. So it's more of line.
But the League of Legends is kind of the extreme example of that.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Like, it is more. I find it super interesting because it's more of the question of what do you want from your game? What do you want to do? Do you want to tell a purely artistic story? Then you don't need to worry that much about what the community is gonna say, because you're trying to put this experience. And I think about like the Kojima games. Like the Kojima games are zero influenced by the community. Like in the smallest part, it's like there's bugs in the game. Of course, there's bugs in the game, but that's about it. That's the threshold. The rest is like the pure vision of this person telling you this story. So it doesn't. It's very interesting, but it doesn't serve every game in every situation, and you have to be careful with it because you can be over influenced by the community and lose sight of what you're trying to do with the game point. Right? And we have repeated here again and again. It's like people are going to complain, and at some point in the future, we're going to make a T-shirt about it. But that doesn't mean that. And depending on your game, is the bar of how much do you hear to these complaints or not. All right?
It's not only that. I think Rep4 put it in a very smart way. This community manager or community whatever title she has nowadays.
Yeah.
Like on one of the interviews that she did with No Clip, I remember that she said that it's basically her job is to, or their community team job is to sieve through all the vitriol that people are yelling in the forums and in YouTube videos and find like the real like not ignore the complaint, but like if people are complaining about something, find the core of that complaint.
Yeah.
And I remember that she says that people were saying basically that they were bored with Warframe at some point. And that's when the open worlds came, because it was okay, like a big they basically identified that they needed a big truck to keep the thing going.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the thing. It's not like you cannot let yourself get washed away by again people just complaining, spitting vitriol on the internet. You have to
and
that's a very hard job of filtering through, try to find what people really mean when they are telling that the game is unbalanced.
Yeah, and I know, and right now in the now, that makes it so much more harder to actually get out good, like potentially employers from your community, because there's so much now way of expression that is good and bad, as everything in life. It's like you have a lot more people passionate about your stuff, but that means that if you want to actually tap into the potential of your community for employers, is a lot harder to sift through everything that is just people screaming for screaming. And very interesting that this was adapted for like by a lot of other communities.
I mean, it depends on the game that you look at. I know that you mentioned League, but
Yeah.
Basically, the MOA genre was created
By
people
community.
making mods.
Yeah. So yes, so
And
they come
those
directly
people
from there.
those people then just, when they got sued by Blizzard, they just made their own company.
Correct.
They made League of Legends.
Yes, and that was and that's
Dota
the
2.
other thing. And that's the other thing. It's like, yeah, Blizzard was very good with this, but sometimes like they miss the whole Dota / League of Legends train because of being sometimes too harsh with their communities in that creative sense. And it's a big regret of the company as a whole.
I think they're doing just fine.
They're doing just fine, but like, can you imagine if League of Legends was under Blizzard's umbrella and on Riot? Like, if they actually give them a place to go properly pro under the Blizzard umbrella with this mod that was actually having a lot of success. We will have we were Heroes of the Storm in the level of League of Legends, right? Potentially.
Yeah, true, but
the modding thing is like other different horse, because there's different feelings about somebody modding your game and doing something better, and
I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking that extreme example of MOAs. It is an extreme example just because it was basically created purely by the community. There was no real artistic effort behind it. It was just, we like this game mode that some guy created.
Yeah.
And they just develop a game around it, both Dota 2 and
League of Legends, yeah.
And League of Legends. That's all there is behind the MOA in general. Couple of people making a game mode for Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
in the actual map editor that the game had.
Yeah, correct.
So that's what I'm saying, that's extreme example of something being community driven, because there was never nothing beyond that. Yeah, but
the question is, should have like Blizzard hire all those people that were building these amazing, very popular mods and just putting them into a project instead of not, and shutting them out and force them to make their own company?
I mean, maybe not. That's hard to tell.
Yeah, of course, hindsight is 2020. Of course, they should have done that with the Riot people.
Yeah, they could have, I guess.
Yeah, we'll never know. But yeah, it's difficult right now. It's very interesting, very cool that you can approach something that you are passionate with, and be so passionate with that you can potentially work for the people who make them. Still a thing that can happen all the time. You're passionate enough about
not only work for the people who make them, become the people who make them.
Become the people who make them. Yeah. And you hear some stories in Magic the Gathering too, when you have like very big community-driven people, they end up in casting positions, or there's something getting to hire into R&D development all the time. I hear it all the time with big pros and that sort of stuff. Even I had friends which I played that now are pro casting in the Magic the Gathering scene right now. So yeah, I feel a little bit.
Okay, but broadcasting is a little different, isn't it?
What do you mean? It's the same. They're being hired under the company.
Sure, but as casting people.
Yes.
Do they do any type of development?
No, but they're casting.
But that's what we're talking about.
Hired by the community, but they've been hired by the
sure
developer.
But we're talking about transitioning into development position.
Fair enough. It was just an example.
And all I'm saying is that it's an example that doesn't apply for what we're talking about.
But yeah, we had a lot of big pros in the Magic community that just become developers, R&D and tester and inside. Yeah. So it's been happening before. Blizzard was the first one to make like take advantage of the passional, and that's why they have this very inside job culture when you have to be super passionate about the company while you're working inside it, which is good and bad at the same time, but you can see the roots of it. I don't know. It's interesting. It's super cool. I find it super cool that and by all means, if you're a game developer, you do this community central game where you want to have a big and healthy community. Look for it. Look for that talent inside the community. Maybe you can find a great developer. You can find a great artist inside it, and take advantage of it. Right? You will have a good long-time worker because they will be already passionate about what you're doing.
Absolutely.
That is the big advantage. All right. With that in mind, so what about that Rhyker? This is Spreaker. I cannot do his voice. Can you do it, Lucho?
Nope. And
you have a deeper voice than me. Maybe you can do it.
Nope.
All right. And he had a direct interview with two of the Diablo 4 developers right after the opening ceremony on the last BlizzCon.
Yeah, this.
All right. So
this took place after the whole. Not only opening ceremony. I think this happened after the. And the.
What, the What's Next panel?
The specific, the What's Next.
All right.
Diablo 4 panel.
Yeah.
It did happen. So this interview is basically him asking for a lot of the design decisions for the game. So they basically talk about the class design and the open world aspects of the game.
Yeah,
I think those are the main things that they touch to.
Correct. So and they talk about how you change the game. The places that you're liberating. They talk about that a little bit about
all of that falls into the open world umbrella
about
and what is the philosophy of
their community interactions. They talk about that too, how they balance what the community is saying and what they want with the game, and how they're receiving the feedback, the importance of their quarterly updates and that contact with the community, but that keeping in mind that they're actually doing a Diablo game and they have to take certain decisions in favor of that. So what do you want to talk about this?
Because why? Because it's interesting.
just yeah. So let's talk about a very the Diablo 4 open world thing, right?
Yeah, they gave a lot of insight of where they're aiming to. What mark are they trying to hit with the whole open world design for the?
It was very interesting, just because they the balance that they wanted to strike is very difficult, and I think you're not gonna feel it till you actually play the game. But they talk about we still wanted to give you the feel of isolation, but that doesn't mean that you won't see players. That was a very interesting that pick up. They were saying you're gonna be alone, traversing the world, but once in a while you're gonna cross with another player. And that's what it makes you feel that you're alone, because you know that there is people out there. And there is
Correct.
a massive multiplayer, an open world with it's not an MMO, sorry. It is a big multiplayer platform, and you are not gonna see. So I'm very interested to you program a random piece of code that says if you're traveling and you haven't seen any players, just spawn a player randomly by yourself. just give you that sensation, just I'd rather do it appears. Or and they were saying then you will tend to follow that other player just to feel yourself alone and see what they are doing, but it's gonna be sparse. It's gonna be sparse enough, but not that sparse where you can feel that you keep retaining that feeling of despair that the Diablo franchise in this experience wants to give you, where the point is like in the lore, there was this huge disaster with Nathaniel, with the angel that become dead, and that he killed like 40% of the war of the sanctuary population. So it's bound to be less people, and they want to make you feel that war in that state of desolation. So, and then you have, of course, the war boss experience, where there's gonna have for sure a lot of players in one point. So I don't know. What do you think about that? That trying to strike the balance in the game world.
I think it's a very interesting approach on how to generate that feeling of isolation, because it does make sense. If you never see any other player, then this is just a single player game.
Correct.
We're used to a feeling of I'm the only one running around doing stuff.
Yeah, correct.
But it's very smart to tap into that. Into like, I don't know if you have ever played like an MMO, like on a low population server or something like that, where you see like a very few people around, and it feels empty.
Yeah.
So they're trying to tap into that feeling, not by having like low population, but like just by the way that they are gonna instance the
word
game.
and that sort of stuff. It's gonna be very interesting to see.
But it's tapping into that feeling of which is very effective. You really have ever played an MMO like on a low pop server.
I test, like, as we were talking in another episode, that with the first time that I played World of Warcraft was in a private servers, and those private servers tend to be very low pop.
Some of them,
I guess that feeling is interesting.
I have done the same, and I know what they mean by that. It's that feeling of you see people, but a very few people.
And
that makes the world feel empty.
Correct.
More than it really is.
Yes.
And it's very interesting that they're tapping into that. To channel that sensation of
desolation,
of despair, and loneliness.
It's
I think it's a very interesting approach because it taps into something primal in humans.
And I'm wondering like how they're gonna manage that with the cadency of the game. So what that make me ultimately think is like then war bosses are not gonna be that prevalent. It's like you're not gonna see, because that's the moment where you're gonna see a lot of players in one place, right?
Yes.
But if you wanna keep that sensation, then war bosses are not gonna be that prevalent.
Probably, like you won't I'll assume that you won't encounter war bosses every 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's and they said it even before this that the aim for war bosses is to be more of a big event kind of moment.
Correct.
So it's probably that will happen one or twice per session, like gameplay session.
Or maybe weekly or something like that, or I don't know.
Maybe weekly, but it's definitely something that shouldn't happen a lot in one playing session. So you sit down for a couple of hours during the weekend. It shouldn't happen more than one or twice.
I wonder how it's gonna be for us, because I imagine that we are gonna play the game together, I guess.
Yeah, we'll play it and we'll play it together, but that's still like if we were in a 4-man group. We will be like alone. Like it's not like we're gonna find unknown people all around.
Correct.
It's gonna be. It's gonna have. Again, we're talking about D&D in the weekly's news. It's that feeling of it's our party and we are in danger. We're kind of a small group of people isolated in this world. And that works as well. It's the same. It's the same primal feeling of just you and your inner circle are all alone in this world against the harsh condition.
Yeah, and like, and it's gonna be very interesting to see that balance of what the cadence of. I imagine that you will get to a point in the game where you kind of lost that cadence. Like if you approach in game, you're gonna have a lot more of multiplayer experiences, like because they of course in the BlizzCon we got the information about the PvP and how the PvP is gonna work. It's gonna be kind of a dark zone and that sort of stuff.
But again, if even with the PvP, if it ends up working as a Division 2 PvP dark zone, that has that same feeling.
You're right. The Division has kind of a similar
the Division
feeling.
PvP, like at least the dark zone PvP, it's not like you run around into people running thing.
Yeah.
But it's not like, there's like 20 of us crashing the servers.
Yeah, correct.
It's not that, or it's you see another guy run there, and then you ask yourself, is that guy friendly? Is he gonna attack us? Should we just stay away? And that if that's the feeling definitely they're going for, even with the PvP.
Yeah.
So that Dark Zone PvP gameplay enforces that.
Yeah, you're right.
And that like the whole thing, it is of gathering things that you have to extract, and that player aggressiveness, it enhances that feeling that everything is rallying against you.
Yeah, correct. Yes. And like the concept about the dungeons being instantiated, that helps them control that feeling. Very, very interesting the way they're gonna work.
And I'm looking forward for how that is gonna feel in game. It's something that I have never seen done before in that way.
What?
Because
the isolation?
Like that, how they're gonna transmit that feeling of loneliness.
Yeah, because you get close in the Division 2, but the difference is like that, like at the end of the day, that in the Division 2, your ward, the ward that you walk around, is your ward. Yeah. You don't get what they are going. Like it's definitely different to what Diablo 4 is going for. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like the Division gets close to that feeling of like post-apocalyptic despair kind of thing. It does. It doesn't really like. It's just that when your head knows that you are playing solo, it's different. Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's the clue. Yeah. If you that's what they're tapping into. If randomly in the Division you will find another player walking around in your world, that will change how. Probably change your feeling through the game. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's what I'm very interested, because that's the thing that I'm saying. I have never seen that done before. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that's what that's what the discussion of the Division, because the Division tries to get there. The Dark Zone makes it, because the Dark Zone is a very good implementation of that. Correct. And that's probably why Diablo 4 is adopting that style of PvP, because it suits that creative feeling that they're going for. Absolutely. Yeah. And the Division tries to simulate it with their live war encounters, when you help allies through like walking from point A to point B, and that's it tries to simulate it through that system, but it's nothing comparable to like actually finding another player working around in your head still knows. Yeah. Your head still knows. Like AI coding, especially for games, is not advanced enough that you can simulate a person. Correct. Like these NPCs still feel very NPC-y. NPC. It's funny because I like, while I hear more and more information about Diablo 4, they took a lot of good lessons from the Division 2 systems and that sort of stuff. Again, the Division 2 is a very good like action RPG. Yeah. It has a lot of things that work very well. To keep that greedy feeling, like that post-apocalyptic despair that the Diablo 2 franchise has always been known for. Yeah, so that's like, it's a very good example for them to take. Like the more I think it's like, instantiating dungeons, these PvP zones, and now they're gonna add that feeling in the game world plus war bosses. So
I'm really I don't know if you remember. I think at the time you were not following Diablo that close, but when Diablo 3 was in development, before they did the whole revamp of the development team that basically scratched everything.
Yeah.
There were a lot of speculation around, are we gonna get a World of Diablo MMO at the time?
At the time, back in when?
Yeah.
That was what, 2007?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was around 2007.
Yeah. But that point, World of Warcraft was a phenomenon.
Yeah. In that point, what were the Mist of Pandaria was in that end of the Lich King, I think.
And of Red.
Yeah.
So by that time there was a lot of like everyone knew that there was a Diablo 3 game in development.
Yeah.
And since that was when Blizzard used to be like super close and like and give little to no information.
I do remember that the first like leak kind of things of Diablo 3 were like very greedy, very with that feeling of despair and that sort of stuff.
All that got scraped out. But at the time, there was a good portion of the community speculating, are we gonna get our World of Diablo?
World of Diablo, yeah.
MMO Diablo game.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see that we're
now,
getting there.
Yeah,
it's not an MMO.
Now getting there.
And it's
like,
very
and it's
funny.
weird. And it's weird because Diablo 3 is a great game. It's not a perfect game, but it's a great game nevertheless with all the things.
Yeah, so it's a very good game.
But the thing about it's fun. It's interesting because now that I think it's like, yes, I know why they didn't do it in the time, because what they like, the pace of game of Diablo for what they wanted to achieve gameplay wise was very hard to do with that online component on it, because the gameplay of Diablo 3 is very satisfying. Like, there's no denying about it, and that's one of the stronger suits of Diablo 3. That is the success of that game, even with all the controversies that surround them with the auction house and that sort of stuff. The stronger suit of Diablo 3 is when you play the game and grind and that sort of stuff. But now we're in a point that when they have all the tools to do both things, to make a super satisfying gameplay-wise game combined with this very ambitious open world kind of thing.
I don't think that they didn't have the tools before. I think they were just in the learning process. So,
all right, fair enough. Yeah.
Like in my mind, Diablo 1 is a very good setting. But the gameplay is kind of dated by like 2 years.
Yeah, because the gameplay was super turn-based with a fast pace, with a real-time system.
Diablo 1 is not that fast-paced. Still very slow.
Yeah, correct. But I'm talking about by the time when it went out.
And Diablo 2 had very strong RPG.
Yes.
Very, very strong RPG. It was still like the gameplay was not super actiony and engaging.
Yeah.
But the RPG was very good.
Yeah.
And Diablo 3, it has a struggle with like the RPG elements, like the itemization and that stuff.
Yep.
But the gameplay on itself,
it's superb. Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Like when you are actually out there pushing greater waves and avoiding the bullet hell and feeling something in between a superhero and a squishy superhero that can die at any moment at any misstep. That feeling is very good. So my hope is that Diablo 4 gets to take all these things,
of those components,
put them together.
Yeah, it's the evolution, the true evolution, like the evolution of the franchise coming to fruition, right?
That's what we want. It should. Like they should learn lessons from each. game.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And hopefully they do.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's one of the things that this interview talks about is at some point I think Rhyker asked them what are they most exciting or what they were super excited to share, and they mentioned the rogue class.
Yes.
And it was because like the whole different specializations in the class system is very good.
Yeah.
And it feels very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's one of those shows that okay, they can develop like good, interesting RPG stuff.
Yes.
And they mentioned how basically there is a big try to take the way that they develop the rogue class or the things that it has, and to translate it to other classes to get the same depth.
Yeah.
But
I think they summarize it in that goal. I think they probably do it, but not in the way that you think. Like, I think they're probably gonna achieve that, but not in the way that you think. Like, not translating systems from one to another. Because they mentioned that every time they take a class and they play side along a different class, if they get the feeling of like, oh, what you did, that's super cool, I want to do that too. And then they know that the class is unique enough when is evoking those feelings that, oh, that's something that only you can do, and like it's super unique to your class. Super interesting.
You have to be very careful with that. Because you still need to balance the classes, like as a pure game perspective. It's like the Power Fantasy, sure, but it's still a game.
But beyond
some semblance of balance.
Beyond of balance and that sort of stuff, what they mean is the correct thing to make every single class super, like, very, very unique, to gather those feelings. I think that's the goal that they're setting themselves up when they're designing the classes.
Sure. What I'm saying is that cannot be the only goal. Like they have to take balance into consideration.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree with you.
And when that will, like, I don't mean that all the classes are gonna have the same specs, but like the building blocks need to be consistent throughout. Otherwise, it's gonna feel too disjointed.
So you're saying like a balance between making this everything balanced but making them unique enough?
Yeah, I mean that's the struggle of every RPG.
Yeah, that's the struggle, exactly. Yes, that is indeed the struggle of every RPG.
But it has to be consistent across the class. Like you cannot have one class whose RPG systems are completely different to the other class. It's too disjointed.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's still one game.
Yeah. Still one game.
I mean that you need that consistency to not whiplash the player.
Yeah. And interesting enough, the other thing that they're borrowing from the division is the kind of the settlement system or the checkpoint systems. When you take over a check, you liberate a place, and then the liberation of that place is going to give you access to other activities. The only difference that they're doing now, that was something that the division changed after, was that so far as we know, there is no retaking those places that we already liberated.
So right? Far it is, because they're or at least they said that the aim is that those are gonna be like your
waypoints to start with.
Not only your waypoints, but that's where they're tying like the more permanent progress of the game. Well, the game will have a lot of things that can change and move around. Yeah, it seems that they're aiming for these settlement things
to be something very permanent.
Your permanent way of seeing how much you have progress in the game. Like,
But then again, I remember that something similar was said about the Division 2, and they ended up changing that system by the end game in like 4 or 5 patches after. to give the game a little bit more life. So we have like the invaded stuff, and they to retake those checkpoints and that sort of stuff, right? And then now you can manually invade or like make a faction retake a point by now in the Division 2. So it's something that can be changed depending on what the needs of Diablo 4 at the end is.
It could be changed, but no, I don't know. I like the idea of having some
permanency change
influence in the world.
Yeah, we do have it. We do have it in the Division, but in another shape.
I'm not saying we don't have it.
Opening stuff and that sort of stuff. And I imagine that's the system that you liberate this camp. Now you have access to this dungeon and the entrance of that.
That's a very common trope.
Yeah. Probably it's gonna be
games.
something like that. And you're now gonna have access to X and Y and blah.
Yeah, but that's nothing new.
Yeah. What else in this interview was interesting? The balance between the community feedback and them as developers.
Yeah.
And then they have kind of assigned, like they have kind of like this council of voices, to put it some way. When they have like a big voice that are they as developers and leads, and then they have a voice in the community, and then they have a voice about the internal staff and developers in the internal teams, and they have a voice of like the internal playtesters that they have in house, and they try to balance all those different things when they're taking decisions under the game.
I mean, that's the game director's job.
Yeah. And I think at some point he asks something about the items, like if he wasn't sure that something that he took about the community feedback or something like that they weren't sure to do. And he talks about the focus of the importance of primary stats.
That's one of the more. Yeah, it's basically that they were not sure how meaningful they wanted the primary stats to be for each class.
Yeah.
At some point in the old games, like you'll have the barbarian is a purely strength-based class. The demon hunter is a strength-based class, and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And at some point they were thinking about like getting rid of that and making everything more like fluid in stat-wise.
Yeah, just secondaries all over the place and not having a primary stat.
But they have like after some community feedback, they have reverted to the more, I guess, classic approach.
But not entirely, because they were talking about like, yes, if you're a barbarian, your damage comes from dexterity, your damage comes from strength, and that's your main stat, and it's important. And they spoke that it has a very special effect, but they didn't say what it was, right?
Oh no! What he said is that they're considering giving each stat a special effect depending on the class that you're using. Yeah. But that's still
very much in flux.
Something untested.
Yeah. It's very much in flux, and he's talking like, it makes more sense that if you're a rogue, yes, your damage comes from your dexterity, but that your critical chance comes from intelligence, because you are benefiting from the knowing of where to stab. So that's your critical comes from that, and then your strength will give you something else in those sort of stuff that kind of like balance of secondary of the primaries that give you more of a secondary influence. Like I was thinking about the World of Warcraft system, and yes, we have primary stats, but we have secondary stats that give us that. So they try and kind of like to tie the primary stat with an extra effect that it affects secondary stats. I think that's what I got out of what the itemization system is gone, but that's very much in flux.
He didn't say that specifically. It's basically that they're still figuring out how stats are gonna affect things. If they're
Yeah.
gonna how much they want to blend the lines in between the stats. Or how they're trying to figure out, like, are they completely separated for each class, or
like in World of Warcraft,
blend of things, or do they stand in between those two?
Exactly. Because that happens in World of Warcraft. There is no reason for you in World of Warcraft to get an intelligence piece of gear if you
no. World of Warcraft, the stats are completely separate.
Yeah. That's the case. So
if
they're trying to
strength-based class, you use only strength, and that's you
right
won't
now,
get any from the
sorry.
anything from the main stats.
Yeah. Right now they're in a point that where they are experimenting with that. What is the importance of the main stats in the gearing and itemization?
Yeah, it's that's one of those really needy details that is gonna take a lot of back and forth and testing to arrive to a place where everyone is happy.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Anything else from this interview, my friend?
No, it's very. The only thing that I will say is that it's very interesting to see how different the development of Diablo 4 is from the previous games.
Absolutely, and it is looking promising. It's looking cool.
Close guarded.
Yeah, it's looking cool. It's looking promising. Everything that he's showing us is interesting. Hopefully, this will be a great game. Right?
We can only hope.
Hopefully, it will be a great game. It will come soon, and yeah, we'll be happy with Diablo 4 and have a great time. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And for our last theme in today's episode, Lucho just decided to send me a meme.
I did.
And tell me to look at it. And yeah, what is this about, man?
I found this in the Final Fantasy 14 Reddit. I found this meme, basically kind of decision tree like thingy for the progression of a player in the game.
Yeah.
And all the places that you can arrive. And if you look at it, it's very complex and it has many...
It's crazy.
Like it has many endpoints where you can arrive.
Yeah.
And like my whole point was that if you think about it, like, more than just the pure meme, this is a reflection of what makes, especially an MMO RPG, successful.
That you have all these kind of different paths to...
Yeah. Not only different paths, but that you have this... Not endgame, but like you have all these activities that you can specialize into. That are all like deep and fun. You know what I mean?
There is a couple here that I don't understand.
Sure, they're of course.
Like the last ones, the SCP-7394J that says just run, and then the moderator which is everything.
Yeah, but like okay, that's part that those are kind of the more jokey ones. But if you look at the rest of them, like the fashion,
I love the degenerate.
Sure, but that's kind of it's just talking about like, okay, you can RPG, and there are dedicated people to RPG.
To RPN, yeah.
And then you have the fashion people, and then you have the market people. Then you have the actual like raiders and the people that run dungeons and farm stuff.
Yeah.
So that's, and yeah, of course it has a meme part of at some point you become the AFK player, which we all been at times.
Yep. That's the one I'm saying. Like, yeah, that is something weird that happens in this game, and it's like, yeah.
but it was more like as funny as it is. My take on this was more. It's more look for an MMO to have some kind of semblance of success. It needs to basically offer this thing because it's kind of a representation of what people latch on in this game.
Yeah,
and if you look into what people do in World of Warcraft, it's very similar. Like you have the people who only care about the mugs and the cosmetics.
Correct. You have the
They farm all
PvP,
content for that.
people who only care about the PvPs, and people.
You have the hardcore raiders.
The
You have
hardcore raiders,
the hardcore mythic run, like
the hardcore
dungeon
mythic
runners.
raiders. Yeah.
You have the degenerates that only care about ERPG.
Yeah.
The ERP side of the game, or just role playing in the game.
You have the crazy people the market gods who just do the action
you
house.
also have the market gods.
Yeah. And you have like the I don't know
farmers.
where is the thing about the people who get who chase achievements
in this one.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's another. Like I'm pretty sure they are also here at some point. I think it's one of the last ones.
Yeah, it's probably one of the last ones. But yeah. The ultimate FKer, literally always online, have been for longer than you've been playing. Nobody dares challenge for a bench spot. I guess your character just when they start thinking they're real. So fucking man. And I was like, oh yeah, that's the people who just park their brontosaurs in Oribus for hours.
Yes. They are. Or the people who run around Oribus keeping the lines.
What?
People who run around Oribus keeping the lines.
Yeah.
Like in a circle.
Yes.
It's that same kind of. Like it was just interesting to see how for as different as the games are at many levels, there is something like fundamentally similar to a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we've been here. Like, I don't know if I will consider myself the Limsa cat girl, but that's so weird. Like, yeah, that's the path of the ERPG, and I'm not going down.
No, but my point is that I don't know, like in some sectors of the Final Fantasy XIV, there's a lot of animosity against the WoW community because we are super toxic.
Yes.
And, but you look at these things and it's like, yeah, the games are more similar than different.
Than you think. Yeah.
And what makes them successful, it's more similar than different. For as much as 14 is focused on the story and WoW is focused on like that raiding gameplay.
Yeah, correct.
At the end of the day, both kind of fit the same meme you want.
Yeah, the same kind of people. When you can like RP, when you can play the action house, you can like.
You can dress up your doll.
You can go out and get challenged if that's what satisfies you. You can go deep into the raiding. You can go deep into the mythic plus. You can go deep into the PvP. Yeah, just like, and I think the summary is this is, if you're creating an MMO RPG at this day and age and you want it to last, you have to give the player space to do what they want.
Yes.
Right? The only thing missing, like in reality, the only thing missing in World of Warcraft, and to this day, I don't know why it's still missing in World of Warcraft, is player housing. Or like guild housing.
Yeah, it's a thing that should be there.
Yeah.
we always I think WoW was just afraid of trying it again. They attempted it in Draenor. It ended up backfiring that specific type of housing.
What with the garrisons?
Yeah.
Ah.
There is a type. If you think about it, it is a type of house. So it is an instance, it is an instance that you own.
Correct.
That you can choose which buildings you put. You can choose some upgrades. You can choose what things are useful to you.
Yeah.
And it takes time to invest into it. So it is not housing itself, but it's that.
Yeah, because in Final Fantasy you literally
that space that you own.
Yeah.
That you put things into that you like.
Yeah, because in Final Fantasy it's like you have an actual island with people houses, and you can walk around other people's houses, which is that's player housing.
And the garrison was a first attempt, like a very early attempt of player housing that ended up backfiring for many gameplay reasons. But,
fair enough. But
and then I feel like WoW is just afraid now to have another failure like that. But the people in the WoW community have been asking for guild housing or something. We have talked many times about it. Like wouldn't it be cool that for example we had like a guild house? Yeah,
I imagine something like the
clans from Warframe.
From Warframe, exactly. The dojos from Warframe, something like that will be fantastic. You don't need to have like individual player housing, but if you have dojos. For guilds, that would be fantastic.
For example, the officers get to decorate and you like when you accomplish this, like for example, any guild achievement will give you like a little trophy that you can put.
Yeah, and we will probably have like list with the people who, like probably in the same house we can have like list with the people who does certain. We'll have like a PvP list of people, the raiders, the mythic plusers, and that sort of stuff inside the house.
Like, imagine how cool would it be, like similar to, you know how in Warframe you can put, at least in your Arbiter, these little portraits, and you can personalize the picture that you put into.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be very cool that you could have something similar, and that we can put the photos after each of the kills that we get in raids?
That would be fantastic. I would like have the wall of progress in the rating. That would be fucking amazing.
It would be cool.
It would be super cool. Just like put up those pictures there for the raid progress. Absolutely. Yeah.
How easy is it to implement in World of Warcraft? I have no idea. It's probably super fucking different.
No idea.
But it will be cool. Or like for example, when like when the raid team gets AOTC. Like when, for example, that you get AOTC on a guild team, you get a little trophy to put in your house.
Yeah, we could like you can like imagine you move into a new guild and then seeing all the RTC trophies from past expansions and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That would be
that's for example. I mean, there are a bunch of achievements in WoW, but the guild achievements are lacking in a sense. So imagine if you could, or you could like you could even farm like you could put cosmetics on all content that you could only get by going farming it like as a raid, like as a nurse raid, as a guild team, for example. Like I want this table. And you can only get it by running.
Can you imagine if we had like an actual trophy for us to be the first guild in our server to kill Shigwink in heroic?
No, but like for example, for the actual guild that compete for server first. They take a lot of pride on like appearing on the leaderboards on like on the website.
Yes.
But imagine how cool would it be for those guilds to
have an actual permanent,
an actual in-game trophy?
An actual permanent thing. Of course, that's a lot of work for the to just create all these assets. To just create all these entire housing assets, project stuff, but it is about time they do it. Warframe have it. Warframe have no right of having such a deep dojo system, right?
No.
Right? It's like yeah, the dojo. Don't get me wrong, the dojos in Warframe is super cool, but like if something like that existed in World of Warcraft, it would be so much important and cooler inside the community.
It will be so cool, and it will be really in line with the whole social dependency of the game.
Yeah. Oh my god!
And then,
how do we get to player housing?
Before we evolve into that, the other thing that I was gonna mention is that by looking at this kind of meme kind of thing, it explains why things like Destiny 2 fail as an MMO.
Yeah, but remember that Destiny 2 originally wasn't meant to be an MMO. They want to be an MMO now, right?
But that's what they're aiming for.
Yes, correct.
That's their current goal.
Yeah.
And for example, it lacks a market.
Yeah. But the same can be said for the Division. So I don't know if we can like
but
them
the Division has never claimed to be an MMO.
That is true. That is absolutely true. You're right.
They have never said that.
Yes, correct.
They have never claimed that.
So basically what we're saying to Destiny and Bungie is like, this is you have to go to be a proper MMO.
If the end goal of Bungie with Destiny 2 is to be an MMO, as they claim at some point, or to at least embrace the RPG elements.
Yeah.
It's like this is kind of the thing that any RPG has. Like so for example, any healthy RPG has like a role-playing community.
Yes.
It's something that I don't know happens really in Destiny, for example. And I know people love the lore in Destiny.
But having a proper RPG, no, I don't think so. Especially because the way that the game refers to you as the only guardian that there is. But the same thing happens in World of Warcraft, so I don't think that makes a difference.
You're still the champion of Hazard.
You're the champion of Hazard.
Me and millions of people.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like we can disassociate the gamery aspects of the game. You're to tell a story, sometimes you need to be the sole savior of the world. But for gameplay purposes,
you are not.
there are millions of them.
Yeah.
That doesn't diminish the
impact. The
impact. So, but that's for example, like people love the lore in this, and they're very invested into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's we talked about a couple of weeks that people are interested in a tabletop RPG based on that.
Yeah. So at that point, it's like, so Bungie should aim to do something like this.
So why there is no RP community in Destiny 2?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
It's that's if that's their goal, that's. I guess this is the rule to measure.
This is print this meme and put it into the wall. Say we have to get there.
But again, if you think about successful MMOs, they all have this.
Yeah, they all have
RuneScape, for example.
Yeah.
It has the same.
Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls has a big, like, very potent RP community.
RP community, like RuneScape, it has the people who run the market, for example.
Yeah.
It have its community of people just collecting stuff for how it looks.
Yeah.
Even in RuneScape, which is a very simple looking game.
Very interesting. But yeah, what happened with World of Warcraft player housing? We have to discuss this at some point. We actually have a lot to say about it.
That's a rabbit hole that I think everyone is waiting for it to happen, but no one has hopes for it.
Apparently not. But yeah. Yeah, and like, I don't know. Now that I think about it, you made me think about it. It's like, it's kind of ridiculous because we have like the Warframe various player housing systems that are insanely good and incredible and flexible. And we have this big MMO which has none. And we have we have 14 with this great player house. I don't know. We have to make a topic about player housing, Lucho. That's your task for next episode.
We can do a topic about player housing.
Yeah.
Also, we don't know how hard it is to
make it in World of Warcraft. No idea, but it sounds like because all these player houses were done from the beginning, right? Of the game.
Final 14, Fantasy,
yeah. 14 had player houses since before reset. The same as Warframe. Warframe had dojos for forever.
Yes, it has had dojos.
Yeah, the only thing that they revamped was the personal player space, but they already had that like baked into the game, the personal player space. The only thing they did was expand it. So we don't know.
Although it would be cool, it's probably a huge effort, but like take the 14 approach that you go to an island,
yes,
and the island just has its own piece of code.
Yes, it just exists
only
as an instance.
Housing.
That would be the smarter way to approach it,
That's
to not be disrupted.
Easier solution.
Yeah. Just make it
completely
separate. Yeah, it's just
separate
like
from the rest of the game.
Yeah. Just have this island with guild. Like it would be cool to have it as in 14 when you can like go to other people's houses and walk around.
Yeah, that.
But I don't know how feasible would be to do that with guild houses, especially because if I was the lead developer, if I was Ian Hazacostas and I was tasked by doing this, I would probably start by doing guild housing before player housing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Makes more sense.
Also, the problem is that for as big as the team probably developing World of Warcraft is, their priority is clearly gameplay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
even though it has like the whole, like it still has all these elements.
Yes,
Warcraft is developed mainly as a gameplay first game.
Absolutely, and we see it in patches. We see it in everything. Yeah, we see it in what they prioritize. Yeah.
Go ahead.
We see it in what they prioritize in the patches. We see in what they prioritize in the content. We see in that what they work every day to fix and keep an eye on it is gameplay first. Yeah, absolutely.
But they advertise. Like they don't advertise the transmog. It's a thing that people do care and people collect. But what they do advertise is a raid, for example.
Correct.
Or the MDI, the PvP tournament. That's just like we're just peeping into what they believe is the core, and definitely things like player housing outside that it will be super cool. But I can see why they're not putting time into it.
Absolutely.
Imagine that they do, and you'll have all these people on the forums yelling, "Oh, but the game is unbalanced. Why are you wasting your time?"
And that's been like, funnily enough, that's been the success of Shadowlands. It's like they put so much focus into gameplay, nobody's complaining about it in the same way that they used to complain.
People are complaining.
Huh? People are always gonna complain. That's the truth of life. But I'm taking in measures. Like Shadowlands was such a good expansion because nobody was complaining that much, right? About the game.
It's been a very successful.
Yeah.
I think probably housing is one of the things that would only happen if the thing kind of comes back into just fully embracing the social dependence.
Yeah, I feel like the only way to do it will be inside of the package of building a new expansion.
Yes, absolutely. I'll be something. That's something that if it happens,
it would be like expansion selling. Yeah, expansion selling.
It's not something that's gonna happen mid expansion.
Yeah, it would be an expansion. I'm sorry. Yes, it would be an expansion seller. Like this expansion now comes with Guildhausen, and that will sell like hotcakes. Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
It's a, but it has to be something permanent.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the problem when you tied up things to expansions, is that expansions in World of Warcraft
are not. Yeah, no, I mean like as a part of the, make it permanent, but it's probably better if they make it part of a expansion thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right?
no. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. That it has. Yeah. It's something that can only happen on like expansion launch, or it's an expansion feature, but it cannot be tied up to expansion.
Correct. No,
because
I agree.
all the things in expansions disappear.
I agree. It has to be something permanent.
It's the garrison problem.
Yeah.
And there are still people who are salty that they invested a lot of time on their garrisons and they don't use them anymore.
Yeah.
People who actually played like Walls of Draenor.
I've heard that. For example. Yeah, I heard that. Yes. I don't know. So, player houses, man. We have to have the discussion and check out.
Yeah.
There you go. You have a topic for next podcast. Anyway, with that in mind, this meme is very interesting. And if you are assuming to be an MMO, you should check this and see if you're covering all the bases of what your players can do in your world. And this gives us kind of an idea. This gives us kind of an idea of what an MMO successfully lets your players do in the world.
That's why I thought it was interesting. Like, past the meme, past the labs. That's what made it interesting for me.
Anyways, and that's our deep dive for today. We move now to our audience questions and feedback. Remember, if you want to contact us, you can write us to our email, thesweatyandthefarmer@gmail.com. You can tweet us on our tweets at TheLogNameGamer and at Luis G. Polanco. Or you can find us around in any kind of sweet social media and send your questions and your arguments and everything else. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can leave your comment down below. Don't be afraid. We will love you for leaving any comment. Send you kisses your way. Anyways, so the first question of this week is tanking really hard in this last WoW expansion, or is it always been like that?
It has always been hard in the sense that, again, you're by the fact leader of the group.
Yeah.
Is it harder now? I think dungeons are way harder than what they used to be.
Yes.
Just because they are designed like before Mythic Plus was a thing. Dungeons were designed like a top difficulty place.
Yep.
And that's kind of, this is as hard as it's gonna get.
Yep.
But now that we have Mythic Plus on the scene, it's kind of, you design them to be, basically since they become this competitive space, you assign them to be more challenging.
Correct.
Because they need to provide that extra hump of difficulty for the super competitive play.
Yes. So I will say yes, just because of that in introduction to Mythic Plus, being an overall tank became so much harder. In this expansion in particular, I will say against that yes, because the way they're tuning Mythic Plus to be what it is, and they just fine-tuning it, which makes the job of a tank harder. But the advantage is that you can not engage with Mythic Plus being a tank and just raid, and you'll be for the most part fine.
It's just what Mythic Plus brought to the table for WoW as a whole is that it gave another avenue of progression.
Yeah,
which it's a blessing and a curse for Blizzard. So it's a blessing in the sense that it brings a portion of it gives the player base another avenue of doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's a headache in the sense that it's something else that they have to balance everything around.
Correct.
Before it used to be writing or PvP. Now you have writing, Mythic Plus, and PvP, and we've seen that the what is meta for each one.
Yes.
It's completely different.
Completely different. Yeah, absolutely. All right, and our second question of today is, what does the death of so many games means for the future of the industry? So we've seen Anthem and Artifact, and we've seen some other projects die through these 2 years. So what does that mean for the industry as a whole?
Probably not much. Probably it means that the internet is more prevalent now.
They just realized they're being observed.
No, I mean, what I mean by that is that there there has been as many projects before the internet became a thing. There were as many projects failing and getting canceled.
Yeah,
it's just that now we have eyes on it. Like the internet puts eyes on everything.
Yeah. Not only that, not only because of Anthem, like I brought this question not only because of Anthem and Artifact, but because I saw a bunch of like MMOs getting close and die all the time, like WoW killers that be like with thriving kind of like stable communities and that sort of stuff. But
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And again, for me, it's just a reflection of how much more information is available to us with the internet than what is actually happening in the industry.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there has always been a ton of projects being canceled out.
Absolutely. Especially you did. Yeah.
Before the internet was a thing, it was kind of
Yeah.
but now news get amplified way more.
Yeah. Especially if you're kind of middle to big company and you cancel games, everybody finds out. Right, you can no longer like just put it under the rug and that's it.
And there's just more eyes on things. But again, I don't think it's something that is happening more now. It's just that we're getting more news about it now.
Yeah,
we're getting it at the time. Like before, you'll project will cancel out, and then you will get to know that like months later.
Yeah.
Now you know the moment it happens.
Yeah, the moment they shut down servers and announce that they have to announce it. They have to be vocal about it. Of course, we have like some like big disasters, like in the case of Anthem and No Man's Sky and that sort of stuff, which are true lessons to the industry, not because they failed as a project, but because the way they did it. Right? Because the way they sold the product and the way they advertise and what they say and not to the community, and that more than so that they canceled that the game was dead now. Games died all the time. That's what we were trying to say here.
Now they die under the magnifying glass of the internet.
Yes. All right, and that is it for us this week, my friend.
That's all for this week's episode. Once again, thanks for tuning into The Sweaty, The Farmer, and The Game Design. My name is Lucho, and you can find me on Twitter at LuisJapolanco.
And I'm The Lone Gamer. You can find me on Twitter at The Lone Gamer. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, leave us a comment, leave us a like, leave us an engage. Leave us a star if you're hearing us in some of the platforms. A star, a like, a kiss, or whatever. Just click stuff on your thing under our name.
Yes.
And leave comments and stuff, just click it. It won't happen anything to you. You'll be good for us.
You'll be good for us. Very good.
Just go and click stuff and recommend this content if you like it. And if you don't like it, tell us why from any of our social media accounts. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, just put it in the comments below. We love every single comment that you leave. And we love you all. And thanks for coming to The Farmer, The Sweaty, and The Game Design. See you next time.
Bye.
did you know while asparagus and green asparagus, while white asparagus and green asparagus come from the same plant, green asparagus gets its color from sunlight. When the plant breaks through the ground, the sun hits it and turning it green. For white asparagus, sunlight is prevented from touching the plant by filling dirt on top of the stalks till the asparagus matures on the ground. Once the tip breaks through the surface, the stalk is cut with a special knife beneath the ground. So there you go. That's the difference. You just hide your asparagus so they don't get sunburn.
And scientific study has confirmed why some individuals don't notice the unique pungent urine experienced by others after eating asparagus. The sulfurous compounds in asparagus pee are highly correlated with a condition called specific anosmia, the genetic inability to smell certain odors.
Wow. Okay.
So it's not that like all asparagus pee smells, just some people are not able to smell it.
So all asparagus pea smells. The problem is like some humans cannot smell.
Yep.
Oh. Oh my god. Have you eaten asparagus? I like this. I like this vegetable. Is it a vegetable? Is it vegetable or is a old thing? Or is this a fruit?
It's a vegetable.
It's a vegetable, right? Yeah, they're delicious. Have some asparagus. It's nutrient. They're delicious. They're difficult to cook though.
Yeah, you have to be careful not to. If you overcook it, it becomes slimy and disgusting.
Yeah, correct. So they're difficult to cook. So if you are a chef in the making, probably one of your tests will be to make asparagus dish because of difficult.